most important finger. We could ask you, what is this dividing line? We could ask you this dividing line. What about this one? Transverse cerebral, is it a fissure or a sulcus? Fissure. This one's hard. What type of dividing line is this? Longitudinal. Is it a fissure, a sulcus, fossa? Another fissure. I think there are only two fissures. Everything else is a sulcus. So, what is this sulcus number 5 here? In the center. Central sulcus. What's this sulcus here on the side?
Lateral.
Lateral sulcus. Do we have any more sulci that I know of? Can't think of any. Oh, we don't have on our list, this one is kind of close here, the, I always forget if it's occipito-parietal or
Parieto-occipital. It is on our list, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Parieto-occipital.
Well, we need to see if it's on there, because it used to be on there the way I remember it. But we do like to put a piece of paper in here and say, what would this be? The transverse cerebral fissure. Now we could say it in a written form. The transverse cerebral fissure divides the cerebellum from the cerebrum. Those words are too similar. Cerebrum means brain. Cerebellum, some people translate the pretty brain. Some translate the little brain. Depends on who it is.
Yeah, it is on there.
Okay, well I was told them, I lied to my people. Didn't I tell you it wasn't on the list? No, I told my kids it was. Now it is. Surface of the brain, the sulci. What do we call a fold?
Gyrus.
What do we call a fold? Here's the cerebellum. What do we call a fold? I don't have my glasses on. That's here in the front of the central sulcus.
Precentral.
Precentral gyrus. What do we call a fold behind the central sulcus? Postcentral gyrus. So a gyrus is a fold. We only have 2 gyri to learn. 2 fissures, and I think we have 2 sulci to learn.
3.
Okay, now there's 3. I don't even know my list. You probably know it. If I don't know it's on the list, you think I'm going to ask it? I'm not going to look.
Chances are good that's going to be a no.
Now,
So don't worry about the
we also, doing the sheep brain, saw the inferior aspect of the brain. What cranial nerve here is represented? And there's a 1 on it on the model. And we do not erase things on the test. So if you see a number, we could ask you a better one than ask you what number is it, what's its name? Olfactory. Another question we could ask, what type of sensation is it conveyed?
Smell.
Smell. Next question, is that neuron capable of doing sensory function, motor function, or both?
Sensory only.
This is sensory only. All right, what is this thing that looks like a little pea or a little grape? Depends on the person, a bean. And it sits in what fossa? Cella of what bone? See, we can go back and add bone stuff this time. We're putting it all together. What's the name of that little shaft? It means hollow funnel that connects the pituitary to the hypothalamus. What's that little shaft? Hollow funnel in Latin means infundibulum. It's a lot of fun. When we get to reproduction, there's a ovarian infundibulum.
Where is that?
It's the
That
little
little
metal
stem?
rod, the stem.
Right there.
Okay, the stem.
It's a hollow shaft that connects the hypothalamus to the pituitary.
Gotcha.
So infundibulum is on your list.
Yep.
That's a tough one. Too small to put on a test for structure. But we could point to that area and say, what do you call that little bridge that connects hypothalamus to pituitary? Or a written question, what's that little hollow funnel called? So we like the surface of this brain. Uh-oh, lost part of its cerebellum. And we have our olfactory nerves. What is this nerve here? It looks like an X, very close. It crosses anterior to the infundibulum. Optic nerve. What number would it be, Jonathan? 2. Would it be sensory only, motor only, or mixed?
Sensory only.
Sensory only. What sensation is the optic nerve?
Sight.
Vision. Yours. Okay. We could ask another question. Once the sensory is received in the brain, it would be sent to what lobe for processing. Occipital. Now we talk about that occipital slap. That was a practical connection of the hospital to sensory here. All right, now here's one of these rods keep falling apart. What is this pregnant structure here that is immediately anterior to the cerebellum?
Pons.
Now we go over here to the side and we see that there's the largest of the cranial nerves. Some people argue, hey, olfactory bulb looks big, the optic nerve looks big, but if you look at the trigeminal by kind of volume, the trigeminal is the largest cranial nerve in the human body.
So the nerves are kind of the little notches.
The
that
little
are-
bumps
The bumps
that
on there,
come
they're
off.
always nerves.
And here's what's
mostly.
interesting. Not shown is the dura mater. On the brain, once something projects past the dura mater, it's no longer CNS.
It's P.
So we don't call it a tract. Now we call it a nerve. And now it's part of the PNS. So the cranial nerves, like all nerves, are in peripheral nervous system. So we had olfactory, we have optic, number 2, and then number 5. What's the name for the what's the number for 5? Trigeminal. I hate oral quizzes. I give it away.
I think you should do that more
We
often.
should do it more often. And then it emerges from the pons. Key thing about the pons, it is a relay center to send information into the cerebellum of the, into the arbor vitae of the cerebellum. What is the other major relay center of the brain? The thalamus. And it's not next to the cerebellum. It is like a central hub that sends projection fibers up to the cerebral cortex, the gray matter that's in those serous, numerous folds, gyri. So the relay center to the cerebral cortex is the thalamus. The relay center from the brainstem into the arbor vitae of the cerebellum is the pons. The medulla, we put that on the quiz today. If you hear cardiorespiratory reflex, gag reflex, micturition, swallowing reflex, defecation reflex, once you release the voluntary muscles, the involuntary ones will relax. Most of the reflexes, except for startle reflex, are centered in the medulla oblongata. Where in the brain do you find your startle reflex? There's a visual and an auditory.
Hypothalamus.
You're real close. It's the midbrain, and it's the mesencephalon, and specifically, I don't know if it's on your list, the corpora, the body's quadrigemina quadruplets.
It is.
I
There
think
are
it is.
4 bumps, and they're known for controlling the startle reflex.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Where is it again?
The corpora quadrigemina of the midbrain, mesencephalon. The diencephalon.
Is that the epi?
There are 3 things that make up the diencephalon. I didn't make up these words. There's the epithalamus, which is the pineal gland major, the thalamus, the relay center to the cortex, and the hypothalamus. I tell people, if you get into AMP2 and they said, we did this today on the quiz, where is the relay center in the body for, and you don't recognize it as a reflex, you should say hypothalamus. We did, next chapter, we do thermoregulation, osmoregulation. All of a sudden you have a thought, I should have a drink of water. When you're eating potato chips, and know you can only just eat one, so says Lay's. But your satiety center says, hey, I've had enough. I need to stop. It also is the hypothalamus, the center of your emotions, your limbic system. And we know that eating food and drinking liquid and alcohol and drug abuse and all kinds of things affect our emotions. They're all centered here in the hypothalamus. It also, there's an emotion when we want physical intimacy with our lover. That's our libido. And it's centered in the hypothalamus. But hopefully we have it under control, and our satiety center would say, hey, that's enough loving for tonight. I need to get some sleep. No, you can't just make love all night. So that's your hypothalamus. When in doubt, say hypothalamus. Where would you find the hypothalamus relative to the thalamus?
Beneath.
Beneath, below. Hypo, below in position or in intensity, like hypotonic. Do you feel pretty good about this? This is your favorite brain.